really wanted to emphasize, stopping the run. 49ers and Coach Shanahan do a great job of, running the football. So, they had a couple little, plays that got leaky in practice, so we wanted to fix those up, and I felt like we did that.
What's good, Raider Nation? Welcome back to Vegas Nation First and 10, your go-to for Raider news and analysis. And tonight we're coming to you from Allegiant Stadium, where the Raiders just dropped their preseason game to the San Francisco 49ers 22-19 on a last-second 59-yard field goal by 49ers kicker Jake Moody. We're going to get into all the highs and the lows. But before we do, just want to remind everybody that all Vegas Nation podcasts, including First and 10, are brought to you by the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Station Casinos STN Sports, and we truly appreciate that. I'm Vinny Bonsignore. I cover the Raiders for Vegas Nation and the Las Vegas Review-Journal. To my right is Adam Hill. He also covers the Raiders for the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Vegas Nation. And Adam, the final score is what the final score is. We'll get into that last fourth quarter drive that the Raiders started. They're not going to play it like they played it in the preseason game, and so you almost just sweep that one under the rug. But outside of that, I felt like Ashton Jeanty and the run game came alive a little bit tonight. The young rookie from from Boise State, I think, gave everybody a preview of what might be ahead. It's 7 carries for 33 yards. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, but that is a 4.7 yard per carry average. He gained 8 yards on a 3rd and 5. That helped lead to a field goal by the Raiders. He also trucked somebody on a run that ended up gaining 13 yards. So a really positive night for Ashton Jeanty. I thought the first team offense looked pretty good. 2 drives, 2 scoring drives. I thought the first team defense cleaned up some of the tackling issues and some of the run defense issues. Still needs some work on the secondary and the pass game. The lows, I felt like Aidan O'Connell continues to struggle. The stats might not, necessarily tell it, but he took 2 big sacks, which I thought were more on him than the offensive line. He also threw a really bad interception on a poorly thought out throw, poorly executed throw. He should just never thrown the ball, and denied the Raiders some points in 49ers territory. That just can't happen. But I'll send it to you. Your overall thoughts on the game.
Yeah, a lot there. I mean, you mentioned the final score, and I was like, was that the score? Like, I mean, the final score is so irrelevant to a preseason game, and yet you still, see late in the game people are, panicking and rushing and trying to figure it all out. Like, well, it doesn't really matter. I guess what matters is late game situations. It gives you the chance to practice some of those things.
For sure.
The 49ers called an egregiously bad timeout in clock management late in the game, which I will never understand. But that's why you have preseason, to learn those types of things. And the Raiders went on their side. You said the Raiders wouldn't probably do that in a situation in the regular season. I guess what it would be is that the Raiders would have their starting offense in there. But in a tie game, you'd be a little bit more protective of the clock. Make sure that if you're not going to score, you do run the clock down a little bit in that situation, because it's a tie game.
Right.
With you have the ball with less than 30 seconds left. You don't want to get reckless, and they kind of did. Because again, there's no overtime. There's no reason to worry about losing.
Right.
So you kind of get a little reckless, and gave Cam Miller a chance to play for. I think you play that as if you're losing, is how you do it. And, turns out those interception, they go the other way. I don't think you do that in a regular season.
Yeah, it was to even sort of go a little bit deeper on that. The first 2 plays of that drive, they get the ball back with 29 seconds left. I think it was somewhere around there. At their 32-yard line. And, 2 sacks drops him back about 6 yards. So now it's like 3rd and 17-ish. And right there with about, I forget exactly, it was, 15?
Yeah.
Something like 29, whatever it was. I think right there you probably do something to run the clock. You run the ball or whatever. They decide to let him heave it down field, trying to get a big gain and maybe try to get into field goal position. But I do think it's valuable just in terms of what's your decision making going to be in that situation. Are you just going to heave it down like that, kind of recklessly, as you said, which led to the interception, which led to the put the 49ers at the Raiders' 41-yard line, I think it was. That led to the 59-yard game-winning field goal. You're just not going to – you don't want your quarterback to –
you play it differently in a regular season game for sure. But, again, that's the end of the game. That's things that you learn from situations. I think you probably tell Cam Miller, hey, pretend like you're losing. Go out there and, call a timeout, try to get the ball downfield, whatever it's going to take. And that's how they managed it. And, again, who cares that you lose?
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
think it matters one bit if you win. I don't think it matters one bit if you lose. It's just how you practice and manage situations. But, yeah, I think to your points on the earlier thoughts of what was the good, what was the bad to take away from today. Offensive line, I thought starting offensive line played a little bit better. We're going to have to watch the film and see for sure. But it seemed like for longer stretches they were able to create some space, create some running lanes. I thought, there was some solid calls. I think you look and say, Chip Kelly put them in some good positions. There was, I know there's a 3rd and 5 that you've been talking about quite a bit where, they decided to run the ball with Ashton Jeanty, and that was such a pass defense, and they caught them in, hey, like you're gonna play the pass and you're gonna overload one side. We're just gonna run the ball, and really the offensive line had nobody to block. Like there was like, this is just free. There's nobody over here.
It's true. It's true. What's interesting about that, for me anyway, is that last year they never pick up. First of all, they would have abandoned that.
Sure.
They just weren't capable of completing that play. Now, a couple things is on that 3rd and 5, they're respecting Geno Smith and they're respecting.
Sure.
And by that time, I want to say that they had taken at least one deep shot. With Dante Thornton, they had tried to push the ball down the field. They had some success throwing the ball, so it all kind of plays into each other on how they were defended at that point, which led to a better look for the run. I'd like to talk to Geno Smith to see if he checked into that run rather than throws a pass, but at least Ashton kind of made it sound like no. Actually, I think it was a called run because Pete Carroll said after the game that Chip kind of wanted to see see that, and they succeeded, and that's big because. When you're facing a 3rd and 5 and you can confidently, whether it's check down to a run or just call the run and say, we have a back and an offensive line that's capable of getting us those 5 yards, that's pretty big. Now, I also think that it's a 4-down territory potentially.
Yeah,
especially
if you run 3rd and 5, you're thinking of going on 4th down.
Right, exactly. So it could have been, a 3-yard gain, and now you got 4th and 2. Now go make 2 yards on a 4th down. But I just think that the importance of them at least showing that Ashton Jeanty and that offensive line is capable of getting 7 yards on a 3rd and 5 is pretty big.
It's also the importance of balance. Like, the team says, 3rd and 5, you're definitely throwing. We're going to throw a pass defense out there. We're going to go light box and, a bunch of defensive backs on the field. And then, we're just going to, we're going to run it off guard and pick up the 5 yards this way. That's, what the Raiders were saying there essentially. And they ran it and they had no resistance there. It was just an impressive play and a good call and a, one that this offense allows you to be able to make. So I thought that was good. I thought, obviously Ashton Jeanty had the 2 big hits. One he kind of delivered, kind of took, but didn't.
It was a 50-50.
Didn't step back.
Right. It was right.
And then the other one, obviously, poor Diamador Lenore, who's not known as a tackler anyway, but to be in the open field and then just get kind of stiff-armed and knocked over by Ashton Jeanty, one that really fired up a lot of people. And I know I talked to Jackson Powers Johnson after the game, and he said that's the kind of play that fires up the team. That's you picked them, and also said we wanted to stop all you people from using the B word after last week, which I never saw anybody call Ashton Jeanty a bust after last week. But apparently,
I heard. You know how it gets. It was. There was a little bit of. There was a little bit of that type of stuff going on, but it is social media.
Sure.
But what was interesting, and people on Twitter, when I said that, he kind of had his welcome to the NFL moment on that hit. I felt like on the big hit. Where
he said he had never had a stinger before.
He had never had a stinger before. My point was this: they don't hit like that in Boise State. Like if that's Colorado State, I'm sorry, but he's probably running over the guy, and that's that. He showed a lot of courage, absolutely. He showed a lot of toughness, absolutely. But that guy didn't move either. So, and he delivered a pretty darn good hit, as did Ashton to the defensive back. It is what it is. But to say that Ashton trucked him, I wouldn't go that far.
No, but the running over Lenore and knocking him down, stiffing arm and throwing him to the ground, that was impressive. And that was like
after and that showed.
both, his elusivity also. I mean, he made a move on him and then just kind of threw him to the ground. He didn't even have to run him over. He didn't even get to him.
Right.
Just kind of dispatched him before he even got to him. So impressive runs for sure. It's why, they take Ashton Jeanty as high as they do to get a guy that has that kind of talent. And now you have to take full advantage of him. They're showing that they can try to do it. And along those lines with the offensive line, sounds like we kind of had a proclamation. I mean, Pete Carroll didn't come out and say that Jordan Meredith has won the starting center job, but he said he has, quote, taken over the competition.
Taken over that. It's what they've wanted to see.
And he said that he also added, because he said he's taken over the competition, which is stopping short of saying he's won it, but he's taken it over. And then he said now the competition is at right guard.
Now which very calculated in how Pete Carroll is handling Jackson Powers Johnson, and now the competition at right guard, which is. At this point, I wouldn't call it moot, but at this very moment, it's kind of moot because Alex Kappa isn't out there playing. So, and hasn't been for more than a week.
Yeah.
He's missed 2 games now and a bunch of practices. So, it's kind of getting late in the hour for Alex Kappa to all of a sudden state his case and then be ready for the regular season. So we'll see how that goes. But Pete Carroll is definitely not yet ready to even insinuate that Jackson Powers Johnson is the starting right guard. So we'll see where I'm anxious actually to look at the film from this game. I'm gonna really pay attention to Jackson and the kind of game that he had. And we'll see.
And I'll watch it tonight. I guess a couple more points on the offense, and then we'll after our break we'll talk a little about the defensive side. Brock Bowers is Brock Bowers. Obviously only threw to him once, but it was a great catch down the right sideline. They got him isolated against a safety. I know Geno Smith said they kind of knew if that matchup came, they were going to throw it.
They
threw
it
it
in practice.
Yeah, it's like a safety not going to really be able to compete in a one-on-one situation where Brock Bowers ran a nice route.
Not many people can.
Ran a nice route to kind of get him isolated out there, and then just kind of threw it up in the air, let him go make a play. I know the defensive back wanted a penalty, probably by the letter of the law was a penalty, but they're not going to call that. That was the same kind of catch that Brock Bowers made against Denver last year.
By the way, you know how the natural, that's what I call Brock Bowers, won the home run hitting contest?
Yeah.
I'm going to just say this. I put my money on him in a dunk contest.
Wow.
That dude is explosive. Everything you see is it's just like this crazy athletic ability that he has. So I call him the natural. Did you see how high he got up on that catch?
It was good.
It was from almost a dead, like a dead set, just jump. I know he was running a little bit, but anyway, I digress. But
I do want to make the point. They're not going to call that. I mean, I think if you go look and did he push him off when he jumped? Maybe. But like I said, I think it was the same play that they had against Denver last year where he made the catch, threw the defender down as he was in the air, and then ran downfield. Yeah. Not really going to call that, especially an ISO situation like that, unless you get full extension on your arms. Yeah. Not going to happen. So you're going to take your chances of throwing the ball to Brock Bowers on that play. No question about Mike Mayer also had a nice catch down the middle. Really good throw, well placed, but good route by him to get open. I think there was a lot of positives from the first team offense, much different than last week when there was really no positives to speak of out of the first team offense, and I think they were very focused on that, as well as a couple other things on defense that we'll get to. But the things that they really wanted to accomplish today, I think they were able to accomplish, and that was very important to them.
Except one, and that is, and they took 2 shots with Dante Thornton on the deep ball. It's a work in progress. It's probably the thing that takes the longest, I would say, among the things that take the longest is developing the deep ball threat, especially for a rookie and a quarterback working for the first time. I did ask Pete about that. Just getting that on film is important for everyone to know.
He said no, catching it is important.
Well, he did say catching it is more important, obviously. But one thing that he did say is that he goes, I got my thoughts on those 2.
Yeah, I wish he would have said what it was, because Geno said he just needs to hit him. Didn't hit him. I would like to hear what Pete had to say about it.
Do you think I thought the second one that went out of bounds was clearly Geno, and I don't know if he makes the catch, but it was it was not a whole lot of real estate over there, and the ball, even if he would have caught it, it would have been out of bounds on the one. But the one that I'm curious, I'm sure Geno took the blame for it. It did seem like it was a little bit too far, but about a foot too far or so. But I'm wondering what Pete thought about that. Maybe interesting.
that's a good overview of the offense today. There's also another side of the ball, the defense. We'll talk about that as we continue here from Allegiant Stadium.
This one's for the Vegas locals and Vegas locals only. STN Sports is the sports betting experience built for you. From the app to the 19 convenient locations across the valley to sign up, bet, and watch your favorite games. And with a massive betting menu and daily odds boost, there are tons of ways to get in the action. Sign up today.
Defensively, I think we accomplished what we wanted to with the run early on. I think that kind of stuck throughout the game. With that interception, I was just dropped to my hook and just look at the quarterback and just broke on the ball. First game was atrocious, so that was a big emphasis this whole week. But I think we looked really good. I'll always go back and watch the film before I can make a real statement about it. But I think overall, though, just fresh off of it, I think we did a lot better.
Welcome back to Vegas Nation First and 10, your post-game edition after the Raiders lost to the San Francisco 49ers 22-19. And you just heard from safety Jeremy Chinn came up with a big interception tonight. But also, I think the bigger takeaway from this, and Jeremy touched on that, was the tackling was, as he said, atrocious last week against the Seattle Seahawks. There's no excuse, argument on anybody's front on that end. Looked a lot better tonight, especially with the first team defense. Minus 1 yard on, I think, 6 carries in that first quarter of action for the first team defense. Did a much better job controlling the point of attack. The run fits were better. I thought the angles were better in pursuit. And then when they were there, they wrapped up and got guys to the ground. So that was a step in the right direction for the defense. I have my thoughts on the pass defense. Not quite as good, but what were your thoughts?
Yeah, better run fits, better angles, and better point of attack tackling once you got there. I think that was pretty clear, and it was very, very obvious. Just like on the offense, there was things that they talked about, like they have to be better at this week, and they were better. I think defensively, those were the points of emphasis, and there were conversations that they had. In fact, talking to Jeremy Chinn and a couple other guys in the locker room, they had said the conversations were very, very, very clear this week of what has to be better, and where they needed to be better, they were better. I think that was pretty evident during this game. I think you saw it at all three levels, really the linebackers in particular, who last week I think were just kind of way too excited at times, just kind of aimlessly kind of wandering around. I thought there was a little bit more focus this week and more more sound play than just kind of running around trying to hit somebody hard. Was the case. And then same thing with the secondary. Guys were taking better angles. I thought there was some good ability to seal the edges on the defensive line as well. So I think that they all three levels coordinated, I thought, better this week in terms of their run fits and their defense. Yeah,
when your head coach said it stunk, on the day after last week's game, and your starting safety called it atrocious, that it's a problem. They got that cleaned up. I think it helped that they practiced against the 49ers. Even Pete Carroll said that they actually made some adjustments off of the practice into today's game. So, they got a good look at what they were going to be dealing with on Thursday in the joint practice, and made some adjustments and got that cleaned up. Pass defense, not quite as good. The pass rush, I thought Tyree flashed on the, I think it was a third down play in the red zone that helped, hold the 49ers to a
hit that forced an incompletion.
Right, exactly. That ended up being a field goal rather than anything more than that. But a little bit too easy for the 49ers to. Now, Brock Purdy, I thought looked good. There was one pass that he completed where, you couldn't get better coverage on it, but he just threw a pass that it was almost impossible to defend. But I still feel like they have to do better in the secondary. I thought Caillou Blue-Kelly, who got the start, by the way, over Darian Porter, the rookie from Iowa State. That's good news for him. He seems to be really, doing his part to prove that he could be a big part of this defense, maybe even a starter. But just still a little bit too easy for me for the 49ers to complete passes in this game.
Yeah, I thought so, especially early against the first team. First team secondary versus first team of, well, we shouldn't say first team of the 49ers.
Yeah.
None of those guys were really here except for Brock Purdy, I guess. But, the starters, quote-unquote, for the 49ers, had a little too easy time, I thought, completing passes until they got to the red zone and tightened up a little bit.
Yeah.
And kind of the same thing as last week, right, where the opponent goes right down the field to start, but they stiffen up in the red zone, which is a good thing.
That's
but you want to
welcome to today's NFL.
You want to stiffen up a little bit before that, but same thing as last week in that regard. So, I'm sure just like this week, it was tackling and run fits and all those things and pursuit. That was the focus. I'm sure this coming week will be coverage and sticking with guys. We don't know exactly what we're going to see in terms of who plays in the third preseason game, but I think those will be the points of emphasis. And they did a good job getting better at the things they want to get better at this week, and we'll see if they're able to do that next week as well.
Yeah, Christopher Smith, who a lot is being kind of counted on him to potentially be that safety replacement for Lonnie Johnson. Remember, he got hurt in the mock game here at Allegiant Stadium a couple Saturdays ago. I think he had 6 tackles to lead the way. He was the number 1 tackler for the Raiders. That could always be a little bit deceiving because I have to go back and look at the tape. How many of those were on pass completions? Yeah. That he's the last line of defense. How many of it were just good sound tackles that he's making to help the cause, especially in the run game. I felt like he played pretty well, but also Edmonds,
played quite a bit for sure. Terrell Edmonds, they're clearly trying to get a look to see where he's at in terms of a guy that came in late. Obviously a very talented player who's played a lot of snaps in the NFL. But where's he at? How ready is he to jump in there week 1 and to be the guy, at least until Lonnie Johnson comes back? On the surface, for sure. Again, you don't really know, and it's why coaches and even players don't really like to talk about a game until they've seen it again and seen the film. Yeah. But on the surface, looked like he was involved and active and physical and all those things. So. We'll see how they come out, what kind of opinion they come out of the game with Terrell Edmonds. But they did put him on the field a lot. I think they wanted to see something.
Kind of a curious response from Pete Carroll, by the way, on the defensive line rotation. And you got a lot of players that are playing there. He's like, well, yeah, okay. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Yeah. He wants people to step up. Basically, is what he was saying. I thought Thomas Booker, looked pretty good today. But not. Not a whole lot of players that really stepped up maybe and were noticeable along the defensive line. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think like as you're saying, and as Pete was kind of suggesting, I think they want somebody to kind of step up and just grab those spots and demand that they play more. And for right now, it looks like it's going to be a rotation. Looks like it's going to be a pretty deep rotation, which could be a good thing. Could also be a bad thing if nobody's if the reason you have a rotation is because nobody's good enough to be the guy. That's not a good thing. If you have a rotation because so many people are playing well at a high level, that's probably a good thing. So I think it's probably the first one right now. That nobody really sees those opportunities, and those chances are there, and that's what they want to see from somebody in this last couple weeks of practice. One more game. We're not exactly sure who's going to be playing, but I assume a lot of the defensive linemen are because especially the defensive tackles because they want people to seize those jobs.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. The pass rush has been through the first 2 preseason games. I don't put a ton of stock into that. Got to see how it looks in the regular season when guys are getting into a rhythm, when guys are wearing down the offensive line. Things sometimes happen later in games. When the offensive linemen are a little bit more tired and all of that. But it just hasn't really been there so far in the first 2 preseason games. I do wonder, Adam, if they're going to really have to, and it feels like they do this a lot in practice, bring the heat from outside of just their defensive line. Maybe some blitzing, which that's a good thing and a bad thing too, because you're going to be left vulnerable. When you do that, you're devoting one more pass rusher and taking away from your pass coverage. So that could get a little dicey sometimes.
Yeah, and you don't tend to get too exotic in the preseason. I know Seattle dialed up some blitzes last week. I think today San Francisco did a little bit too, and the Raiders did some. But
we'll hear talk about that.
I think you'll
for the 49ers blitzes because I felt like the quarterback that was in for the Raiders didn't do a very good job of handling it.
Sure, and so I think that is something that you want to talk about for sure. I want to talk about the most impressive thing that I saw today. We'll close out with those 2 things after Heidi Fang talks to Chuck Esposito because there's more football coming up this weekend.
Yes.
So if you haven't had a chance to get the app yet, again, we still have the $50 no-worry wager available. What a great time to get in the summer. Get yourself familiar with the app. The auto racing, horse racing, the golf,
women's softball,
the MMA. Whatever you're interested in, check out the STN Sports app.
And joining us now here on the First and 10 podcast, we have Chuck Esposito in the Race and Sportsbook Director of Station Casinos. He's back after a little bit of a hiatus, and we're happy to have him here on the show. I'm Heidi Fang, and we're going to run you through some of the preseason week 2 numbers that remain on the week. And one of them, of course, starting right at the top of what happens tomorrow, Chuck, we have the Jaguars game. I've been so interested, and I didn't get the opportunity to do that. I got to figure out how to make more room on my recording system to watch what Travis Hunter does and to see how much he'll be out on the field for the Jaguars. Of course, the number 2 pick, playing both wide receiver and cornerback. Before we dig into it, though, Chuck, my apologies. How are you doing?
You're right. It's good to be back. I mean, all I can say is yay football. I can feel the kind of the buzz in the room, and the atmosphere is different. And we've started taking our last man standing contest entries. So it's good this time of year. I mean, it's a long, hot summer. Baseball's fun, but football is king, and we're excited about it. So it's good to be back, and good to be back with you as well, and talking a little Raiders and a little football this week.
Absolutely. And again, just off the top, like the Travis Hunter aspect of things, it's so unique to see that, and the energy, like you said, with football is palpable. You could feel it just like, walking through Allegiant Stadium. It's amazing to see the Raider fans back, silver and black, inside of Allegiant Stadium for the game. But when you look ahead just to what we have tomorrow, being that this game is concluded, I wanted to see your thoughts on what the Jaguars are getting here on this game.
Well, I think you look at the game and the number has shot up. I mean, the Saints really, from a quarterback standpoint and how good they're going to be this year, there's some major question marks there. They've got some talented skill position players, but not a lot of, the quarterback's the big question. And I think you look at the Jags and a new head coach who's going to want to play well and show his team that, they want to play and change kind of the narrative going into the season. This number has gone up. So we've seen it go up a full 2 points, knowing the Jags will probably play some of these starters a little bit longer. And that's why it's been really one-sided in favor of the Jags so far.
Right, and these are always the games where you want to really get a hold of your 53-man roster before the final game. Third week, usually, we see those guys that are just vying maybe for practice squad spots, vying to even make the roster in some way, shape, or form if they haven't narrowed down their final slots yet. But these games in week 2 are the ones I love because, like you said, you do get a longer look at some of the starters, which takes me to the Bears game. I wanted to know what your thoughts are right now on your boys out there in the Windy City.
Stop, Bears. I think going back to the last game too as well, I think you saw so many teams last year with younger quarterbacks get off to a slower, rusty start. And I think you're going to see Caleb Williams play, a little bit longer in this game. I mean, I know that Ben Johnson's been really pressing him a lot, and they're throwing a lot at him, and the expectation level is sky high. They're one of those teams that people feel can go from a last place team to potentially a playoff team. They play in a really tough division. They've got a lot of really talented skill position players. And we've seen this game go up a little bit too. And I think the reason being is that Caleb Williams is going to play some substantial downs in the first half.
Yeah, one of the things I wondered about Caleb Williams after last season was how much will he benefit from some stability on the coaching staff? Like you said, Ben Johnson's there now, and just maybe the offensive scheme that he has, picking it up, seeing how he's able to flow with it in this preseason game might answer a lot of questions. But it was much different for the number 2 pick of the draft last year for Jaden Daniels, the Commanders, who we'll see in the Monday, I believe. Yeah, Monday game. Sorry, I had to do my math there on the 18th. But just wondering your thoughts. When you see a guy like Jaden Daniels slinging it around the way he did last year, how much can he grow off of last season, and how much maybe do you think that changes numbers when you think about assessing him as just in betting terms, because there's a lot more film on him now?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, a lot of times when you see a young player have a phenomenal rookie year, it is tough to match that the following year. They really can't go up. They can only go down. And you're 100% right. I was going to touch on that. There's so much film on these guys. We saw C.J. Stroud, for an example, have a tremendous rookie year, then struggle in year 2. I know a lot of it was offensive line. He had some injuries at wideout. But you look at Jaden Daniels now, and the expectation level is sky high. With Caleb Williams, there's a lot of question marks, but the arrow is pointing straight up. He could probably only go up at this point. So I think it's an interesting kind of dynamic. I think the Ben Johnson factor has helped the Bears as far as what the line does. And I think the success of the Commanders last year has helped them. They're a much better team, a much more competitive team, but they've got a major holdout right now in scary Terry McLaurin. So without him, I think that offense isn't going to be nearly as good. So they have to get that taken care of before week 1. But there is a lot of positive buzz about the Commanders this year.
Yeah, what are the numbers on that one again? I'm sorry, run me through the.
Commanders right now. I mean, they're a favorite in this game against the Bengals, 4.5 points. So we've seen this number go up as well. And I think a product of who's playing and who's not playing is the big factor here.
Well, and there you have it from Chuck Esposito. You touched on that last man standing contest, and so I wanted to get any information that you have on how people listening now or watching now can go ahead and get into that contest if they are so interested in trying to pick a winner against the spread every week.
Yeah, Last Man Standing is our signature contest. We run it in other sports as well. The fun thing about it, it's a $25 entry fee, Heidi. For $25, you get 1 entry. For $100, you get 4, but we give you a bonus 5th entry. How it works is you're picking 1 game a week against the STN sports line, the point spread, for each one of those entries. If you win, you move on. If you lose, you go home. But the great thing is it's a small investment. So pro, you can win an aggregate $150,000 payday for the winner. College, it's $100,000, one of the best college contests out there. And again, it's aggregate payout. So if there's multiple winners, they would split. But the key is, again, a small entry fee. There's great contests out there with huge entry fees and huge paydays. But for this one, $25, you can get a pretty nice payday if you're able to cash out and win either the pro or college STN Last Man Standing contests.
Make sure you guys check that out as well. It's with Station Casinos, the podcast that Chuck just discussed. And for now, we'll wrap this up and let you guys get back to some of the game analysis with Adam and Vinny.
Our thanks again to Heidi Fang and Chuck Esposito from Station Casinos STN Sports. We are here at Allegiant Stadium where just a few hours ago the Raiders dropped their second preseason game. Well, they're now 0-1-1 after last week's tie. But they lost tonight to the today it was actually it's 1 o'clock game to the 49ers 22-19. And you were mentioning some of the blitzing that the 49ers did tonight, and I felt that kind of directly leads us to I wouldn't call it a problem yet. But the fact of the matter is, Aidan O'Connell, the Raiders' backup quarterback, has not really played well in the first 2 games. 3 interceptions in 2 games, mostly against backups, pretty much exclusively against backups for the other team. It's more the decision making for me. The interception that he threw today, it's just a ball that you can't throw. The Raiders are at the 28-yard line of the 49ers. You're looking to obviously score a touchdown at the very least, kick a field goal. You just can't turn the ball over there. And not only was it like I'll if it's just a good play by the defense or just a play where, hey, it made sense to even throw the ball. I mean that's one thing, but this is a throw. And even Pete Carroll said the guy was well covered. This guy was well covered, so you just don't throw it there. It's kind of a long throw because he's throwing it sort of across the field with. He's got a nice arm, but I don't know if he's got that kind of an arm to even complete that, especially when his wide receiver or his target was covered the way he was. It's just a bad decision right there. And then, to compound that, he also took a couple of sacks that I felt with better recognition on his part from where the blitz and the heat was coming from, and maybe better communication with the offensive line or finding a hot read instead of kind of holding on to the ball. I think he could have gotten the Raiders out of a little bit of trouble there, but he compounded it by not doing any of those things and taking some ill-advised sacks.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things Pete Carroll said is we just don't see that from him in practice, which I would argue a little bit. We didn't see it from him in practice in OTAs and minicamp in the first 2 weeks of training camp. We've seen it a little bit lately in camp. I don't think there's any question. It's been a different Aidan O'Connell as of late than it was early on in camp and going back to OTAs and minicamp. So
reason for concern.
It's something I think that they need to pick up. And look, if you're thinking, hey, look, why isn't Cam Miller the clear number 2 guy? Aidan O'Connell struggling. Well, you see that at the end of the game. I mean, those are bad decisions. Those are things that can't happen. You can't take a sack, just like you can't take a sack early. You can't take a sack. We're in kind of a scramble mode at the end, and then throw a bad pick, which again won't force that in a regular season game because you'd probably take a knee, or at least hand off the ball and try to run out the clock. But not a great throw. It wasn't good recognition. It wasn't good throw. Any of those things.
It was a prayer.
Yeah, it wasn't even really a prayer. It should have been. It shouldn't have been thrown. First of all, it wasn't even like it was a Hail Mary or anything. It was just
no. But it was
throw over the middle that should have been made. So, I think that at this point, I think if Geno Smith were to go down, it would be a major problem for the Raiders, and that's the case with a lot of teams in the NFL. But I think the Raiders probably entered camp thinking they were at least okay in the backup quarterback position. Right now, I don't think you'd be that overly confident sending Aidan O'Connell into a game right now. So something has to work on. Something has to get better for sure, and probably something that is at least a yellow flag right now. Yellow flashing light right now that the Raiders are going through. It's got to be better. And look, we've seen better from Aidan O'Connell at times, but the last 2 weeks just have not been good.
Yeah,
and I think to your point, like, yes, recognition of where the blitz is coming from, that sort of thing. I think it's also, he's been in front of some very young offensive lines at the time when he's been in the game.
Fair enough.
And I think their communication on where the blitz is coming from, understanding, he has to understand better of helping them.
Yep.
But they also have to be better on their own in terms of communicating where that's coming from, and that's a work in progress.
Fair enough. I actually thought that Cam Miller, we talked about the ugly end for him. He actually started really positively. Got the Raiders it was a field goal drive it ended up being, but there was, in contrast to what we were talking about, how Aidan mishandled, I thought, that pressure. I thought Cam actually handled it really well, and there was one in particular, there's two really, but one in particular, where he recognized the heat. He communicated to the offensive line. He knew where he was going to go with the ball, and sure enough, the heat came. It was what he expected, and there's a guy barreling down on him, but he had the plan in place and executed on a really nice throw. I forget who the wide receiver was, but it was a plus 10 plus yards for a first down, and so to me, and it was basically behind the same offensive line, maybe even less than the offensive line. So it's just like I said. I don't think Cam's ready to be the backup quarterback. I'm not saying that, but I do echo what Adam is saying, is that there should be right now a yellow flag for Aidan O'Connell. He'll probably get the bulk of the action on Saturday against the Arizona Cardinals. Although, do you think that they're going to play any of their starters in that game? Could they?
They could. I'm sure that what Pete Carroll will say is everyone's live. Mm-hmm. That's what he likes to say.
Let me put it this way: if Cap is ready to play, if he's healthy, do you? I mean, I guess that would tell you.
If there's a competition at right guard, then you better put it in. Yeah, for sure. I think that there's some spots that maybe we'll see. I think we'll know a lot about where the competitions are or are not.
Right.
By who's playing next week. So. I think you're going to see a lot of depth guys, a lot of rookies, a lot of guys that are trying to make it, and I don't necessarily think you're going to see a lot of starters, except maybe a cameo here and there, unless maybe like we talked about, if they want to maybe try to hit a deep ball to Dante Thornton, run the starters out there, Geno and Dante Thornton, try to throw
defensive
one.
line, especially the interior.
Yeah, interior defensive line. I think there's those are the kind of spots that we've talked about potentially being competitions or open or still trying to figure out what you've got. Those are probably the places you're going to go. I did say I was going to tell you the most impressive thing I saw today. I think you already know this, so I probably watched the play 50 times already. Darian Porter, who obviously competing for a starting cornerback spot. One of the best special teams players I've ever watched on film in college.
Speaking of which, go ahead.
He is incredible on special teams. Obviously, he's competing for a starting corner spot, so you probably wouldn't see that guy a lot on special teams in the NFL. But what I saw in film in college is one of the things that I saw tonight.
Yeah.
He was playing gunner on the far side. He eluded two blockers, beat them downfield by about 10 yards. And then made an open field tackle on a punt. It was midway through the second quarter. Actually, I don't know that they punted any other time, so it might have been the only punt that they had. But if you want to watch it, if you either have the game taped or you have NFL Plus, I guess free plug to them. But if you have NFL Plus, the All-22 will come out later in the week. But if you want to go check that out, watch how impressive he was on that play. It was absolutely unbelievable. That is what they saw out of Darian Porter as a special teams player, and what I saw every time I watched Darian Porter on film as a special teams player, you saw it translate tonight. It was a special play.
Yeah, without question, and that was good to see from the rookie. And they also got a nice couple of plays from Tommy Millott, the young wide receiver / former quarterback from Montana State. He had was it 42-yard kickoff return, plus 42-yard kickoff return, and then also had a tackle on kickoff coverage. So, look, he's a ways away as a wide receiver. He's done some nice things in practice, especially of late, but his ticket to make this football team and to contribute is on special teams. He did that today, so showed some progress, and he was really happy. I got a chance to talk to him after the game. That he got rewarded tonight in performance, in results, I should say, based on all the hard work that he's putting in, in special teams. I thought Dylan Laube played. He had a nice special teams return, except it got called back for on a holding call. But he also had another tackle on coverage units, so another feather in his cap to try to make this team. So definitely some special teams flashing. Today, good job by Daniel Carlson as usual. One punt for AJ Cole. I think it was 47 yards, so he's in midseason form. But that's about it from Allegiant Stadium. A day off tomorrow,
2 days off,
and a day off Monday, exactly for the Raiders. So we won't be back with you guys until Tuesday of next week. Tomorrow at noon. Pete Carroll will do his post or his following day press conference. So we'll get his thoughts after he's gotten a chance to take a look at the film. I want to say thank you to all of our listeners, all of our readers. The numbers are great. We really appreciate it. You're why we do this. We say that all the time. If you're watching on YouTube, keep hitting subscribe and the like button and passing the word along that we're here for everybody. Vegas Nation is, whether you want to read our stuff, watch all our videos, see our great photos, columns, everything, all the content that we do it for you. Thank you very much. I want to say thanks to the Las Vegas Review-Journal for all of their support. Also, Station Casinos STN Sports. Heidi and Dom, they're up there doing their thing. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Until Tuesday, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the football. We'll talk to you guys again on Tuesday.